Hi, this is Kaylin Huntress on day 13 of Fluoride Free Awareness Month, where every day this month I'm sharing a piece of evidence or a scientific quote about fluoride. And today I want to talk with you about the difference between reason and faith, between science and belief. And to illustrate this point, I'm going to start with a 1-minute video from Dr. Shane Reti. He is a MP for New Zealand from Whangarei and the New Zealand Minister of Health. So let's watch this video for 1 minute. This is Mary Byrne asking him about a piece of evidence.
I was wondering, Dr. Reti, are you aware that the US government's top scientific body, the National Toxicology Program, has recently completed a 6-year review on fluoride and neurotoxicity? Since they have confirmed that fluoride does lower children's IQ and there is no known level where fluoride does not cause harm, what reason would you have to continue fluoridation today?
The reason I have is I believe in a different science, and so I think on this particular, it's one of those issues where we each need to find the science that we believe. I found a different set of science, and I believe that fluoride does prevent dental decay, and I don't believe that it causes harm.
This is a top US science.
And you found your truth. I found my truth.
What's yours?
And
then?
I live
science
in
is
Northland,
that?
which has
what science is that?
That is the science of a body of literature around the world.
What exactly?
That is substantively. I'm not going to give you date and time here,
no,
but I believe
know.
that. And I live in an area which has the highest dental decay of anyone, actually. And so I do believe it is evidence.
Children's brains are more important, actually.
We're not going to have a fluoride debate tonight.
So he believes his science. He believes it in the face of this report from the National Toxicology Program. This is what Mary Byrne was asking about, was this assessment for developmental neurotoxicity. It's this huge meta-analysis that is re-examining the science. They've taken hundreds of studies and said, what is the evidence for developmental neurotoxicity with fluoride? And she was asking a legitimate question about this science. But Dr. Shane Reti, he believes something different. He believes in a different science. He hasn't been rationally convinced. He believes. And when I think about belief, I think about Dante's Inferno. You know, Dante's Inferno was written in the 15th century, and it was these 3 cantos. The first part of it was Dante's Inferno, and then the other 2 parts of the Divine Comedy were the Purgatorio and the Paradiso. And during these 3 different epic poems, Dante was guided through the different levels. He started by looking through the 9 different levels of hell, and he was guided by Virgil, who was the personification of reason. And Virgil guided him through the 9 levels of hell and then brought him up to purgatory, which was between heaven and hell. And something interesting happened when they went to heaven. When they went to the Paradiso, Virgil disappeared. And Dante was guided by Beatrice, the personification of faith. And the lesson that Dante gives us is that reason and faith cannot coexist. What he said is that if you're going to go to the celestial realms, you can't get there with reason alone. You need faith in order to perceive heaven, which is a poetic interpretation, but that's not the kind of interpretation we want when someone is making medical decisions about what we do and don't put in our bodies. We really want someone who's grounded in scientific reason. And Dr. Shane Reti has faith. He believes in his science. The greatest thing about the scientific method is that it allows challenges from anyone, anywhere. It doesn't matter what the dogma of the day is. The scientific method says, okay, if you challenge me and you prove yourself on the field of evidence, then using the scientific method, we can figure out who's really right and get closer to truth. But you can't do that if you have faith. I'm reminded of a debate that happened some time ago between Bill Nye the Science Guy and a creationist, somebody who was a fundamental Christian and believed that every word in the Bible was literally true. And they had a debate. And to their credit, they both stood up like gentlemen, and they debated the issues and answered tough questions, and they talked through the process. And at one point, the moderator said, "What would it take for you to believe that the other person is right?" And Bill Nye, the science guy, said, "Evidence." And the creationist said, "Nothing." Because he had faith. He was unshakable. You couldn't move him from his perspective because he had faith. Bill Nye, the science guy, is a man of reason. And if you show him evidence, he will change his perspective. Because that's what science allows us to do. It allows us to stay open-minded enough to change perspective when the evidence shows us that what we believed may not be true. And if you're not willing to say, might I be wrong about this? You might be making decisions from faith instead of reason. And so I challenge my friends who still believe that fluoride is the right thing to do to interrogate their own assumptions. Do you believe this, or have you been rationally convinced? I'll see you tomorrow.